Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Tel Aviv. Coming up in today's newscast, 3 terror attacks shake Israel. Israel approves a major gas export to Egypt, and thousands get ready to celebrate Christmas in the Holy Land. I'm Natasha Kirchuk here with the latest news in Israel. Another wave of terrorist attacks has hit the West Bank today, leaving 3 Israelis wounded.
One person was lightly injured in a suspected car ramming attack at the Adam Junction next to the Ramah Army base. The IDF says a car tried to hit soldiers and border police officers. The driver was shot and killed on the scene. This is the 3rd attack of the day. Earlier, a Palestinian attacker stabbed 2 security guards at an industrial park outside the West Bank settlement Ariel. Both of the victims were 24 years old and were rushed to a nearby hospital. One of the victims is in serious condition after suffering several wounds in his upper body. And the other victim has moderate injuries. The attacker's identity has not yet been publicized, but he was shot and killed by guards at the site. Just an hour later, another Palestinian man attempted to stab soldiers with a screwdriver near a Hebron checkpoint. Israeli soldiers opened fire on the assailant after he approached the soldiers with a weapon. He was shot dead and no Israelis were injured.
Family and friends are mourning the death of 2 Israelis who were killed in a terror attack in Jerusalem yesterday.
Argentinian-born Rabbi Reuben Bermejer was laid to rest last night. He was stabbed to death by Palestinian assailants as he left Jerusalem's Old City at Jaffa Gate. Bermejer was a member of the faculty at the Aish HaTorah Yeshiva. He moved to Israel 5 years ago from Buenos Aires after becoming religious. He leaves behind 7 children. 46-year-old Israeli Ofer Ben-Afri was also killed. He was mistakenly shot by police amid the chaos of the attack. He was buried this afternoon and leaves behind 2 daughters. The 3rd victim in yesterday's stabbing attack remains in the hospital in serious condition. For now, the 2 terrorists in the incident have been identified as 20-year-old Anan Hamad and 21-year-old Isa Asaf. Both are convicted felons from the West Bank's Kalandia refugee camp.
The Israeli government has accused 2 leading foreign news networks of bias following their coverage of yesterday's terror attack in Jerusalem.
The American TV networks CNN and CBS are under fire for their misleading headlines about yesterday's Palestinian terror attack, which left 2 Israelis dead and 1 seriously injured. A CNN headline read, "4 die in violent stabbing attack at Jaffa Gate," and the CBS headline said, "2 Palestinians killed after stabbing attack in Jerusalem." Israel's government press office has sent letters to both of the networks, accusing them of turning the murderers into victims. They wrote, "We cannot think of a worse example of anti-Israel bias." They then went on to condemn the coverage as dishonest and unethical journalism.
The Shin Bet security agency has uncovered a major Hamas terror cell in Jerusalem that was planning to carry out multiple suicide and car bombing attacks in Israel.
25 Hamas operatives were arrested in the roundup, the majority of which were students from the Al-Quds University in Abu Dis. The Shin Bet also discovered a bomb-making laboratory. The terrorists were planning to carry out mass casualty bombing attacks in Israel. The leader of the cell was identified as 24-year-old Palestinian Ahmed Azam from the Kalkia area. Security officials say that the cell was operating directly under orders of Hamas in Gaza. Former Hamas Interior Minister Fatih Hamad was identified as the man funding and training the cell. The bomb lab was already ready to manufacture a significant number of explosives of different types.
The Israeli government is condemning a video clip that has shocked the nation, which shows far-right extremists celebrating the murder of the Palestinian Dawabsheh family.
The video has received wall-to-wall condemnation across the political spectrum. Prime Minister Netanyahu says the clip shows the true face of the right-wing extremist group, proving that it constitutes a threat to Israeli society and security. The video shows revelers at a Jewish wedding waving knives, rifles, and Molotov cocktails to celebrate the death of the Dawabsha Palestinian family. 3 members of the family were killed in an attack which security forces say was carried out by Jewish extremists. The Jewish Home Party has condemned the celebration as evil price tag ideology, and Yesh Atid leader Yair Lapid has called the celebrants terrorists just like Hamas and Hezbollah. Police have now opened an investigation into the events surrounding the video.
It looks like Israel and Egypt are moving forward with a major energy deal. The Israeli government has approved the exportation of $1 billion worth of natural gas to Egypt.
Israel's energy minister has signed off on the sale of up to 5 billion cubic meters of gas to the Egyptian company Dolphinus Holdings. According to the contract with Dolphinus, the natural gas will be sold to Egypt over the course of the next 7 years, with the annual amount changing based on demand. The decision was made after a consultation with the Israeli Prime Minister. This is the second approval of gas exports in Israel, following the authorization of gas exports to a Jordanian company in April.
It's almost Christmas Eve, and we have a special guest with us today. Rabbi Yechiel Eckstein is a founder and president of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So why don't you talk to us a little bit about what the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews does?
Well, I started the organization 33 years ago with the intention of building bridges of understanding and healing between Jews and Christians, and secondly, building support for Israel and Jews in need in the Christian and Jewish communities. Since that time, we've grown to be quite big. We're one of the largest organizations in the world. We have 1.7 million Christian donors in America. We have offices in Korea, in Canada, in Australia, in Brazil, various parts of the world. And we focus on 3 areas: helping in Aliyah, bringing Jews to Israel, especially from Ukraine, where we had set up refugee camps for Jews fleeing the eastern portion, and now we're bringing them to Israel. And secondly is poverty, where most of our funds go, poverty in Israel and poverty for Jews in the former Soviet Union. And the third is security, where we fund security in Israel and security for Jewish institutions around the world that are threatened by anti-Semitism.
So as the wave of terror continues in Israel right now, what is the fellowship doing specifically to address the violence?
Well, there's a limited amount we can do short-term to stop the violence, but what we do is work with the government on all sorts of programs. For example, we built 5,600 bomb shelters, 12 or 13 fire engines. We have a program where we give the Magav unit, the people who were killed today, were saved. The others were saved by the Magav unit, which is the border police, and we adopted them many years ago, and we helped them with all sorts of things. Now, in light of this, we help them with a jacket, a warm coat, and a water dispenser, things like that. We also give $1,000 to every victim of terror. And we also have a program giving $1,000 to every oleh, every new person. Today, this morning, I had the great occasion to welcome a group from Venezuela and from Uruguay that we brought to Israel, and to give each of them $1,000 so that they can get their lives together. And I commented that yesterday we unfortunately gave $1,000 to each of the people who've been harmed by the terrorism. We've already helped over 100 people with $1,000 each. It's something we do to help the families, but hopefully we'd rather give money to the Olim to start their new lives.
So speaking about Olim, the fellowship has been very active in calling for a change in Aliyah efforts and immigration efforts in Israel. So you're apparently trying to make 4,000 to 6,000 Jews immigrate to Israel next year, correct?
Correct. I think that's a very conservative estimate. I personally believe it'll be closer to 10,000 because what's happening is that we are getting requests from all over the world to plan, from Jewish communities, to plan their aliyah. And we just started 12 months ago. Well, we were giving money to the Jewish Agency, which is a quasi-arm of the government, for 15 years. We gave $188 million to help Aliyah. So we helped bring 750,000 people from the former Soviet Union and from Ethiopia and to a degree from India, all funded by Christians. And now we are continuing from Ukraine and Uruguay and Moldova and France, where we have started, and it's picking up very quickly. So I anticipate that next year, God willing, which is just our second year doing this ourselves, will be closer to 10,000.
So we'll change the topic for a second. I know that just this week, IFCJ sponsored a unique Christmas party for Israeli Christian soldiers in the IDF. Apparently there's a growing number of Christian Arabs in the Israeli army. Is this a new trend that's going on?
It is. Actually, it's not a new trend that we're helping Christians. We help Druze, we help Muslims, we help Jews, obviously, and we help Christians. And we have programs for the weaker population, the poor of these communities all year round. We even fund 100 Druze families that fled from Syria into Jordan, because we work that closely with the Druze community here in Israel. So my point is, we care for all the citizens of Israel, and that includes the Arabs, that includes Muslims, Christians, and Druze. And before Ramadan, we give hundreds of thousands of dollars to help poor Muslims at the time of Ramadan. Jews, we help at Rosh Hashanah and Passover, the New Year and Passover. Christians now for Christmas, Druze, the ILTV. In the case of Christians, we're living at a time when Christians are being persecuted around the world, especially in the Middle East. And the only country where Christians in the Middle East today can practice their religion freely is Israel. And yet, even a place like Bethlehem, which just 15, 20 years ago, Bethlehem, where the whole story started, Jesus was born, until 15 years ago was predominantly Christian city, with 90% Christian. Today, they fled. There are only 10% of the city of Bethlehem today is Christian. So Israel has become a haven, a refuge for Christians, and we honor that, and we help persecuted Christians around the world. And for Christmas time, we work with Father Nadav, who started an organization that we fund to help Christians, Arabs, integrate better into society. And one of the key ways in which you can integrate better is by serving in the army. Now, Arabs are exempt from serving in the army. They don't have to. But many of the Druze do, many of the Bedouin do, some Muslims, but mainly Bedouin and Druze do serve. So we started together this program to integrate Christian Arabs in the Israeli army. And it started last year with 40. This year we have 100 young people, and we give each one a scholarship to university after they finish their 3 years of service. And the Christian community is small. It's not like the Druze community or the Muslim community, but we believe that we must help all the people of Israel and help those that want to integrate into society and serve in the army voluntarily to help them do so.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Christmas Eve is just a few hours away, and thousands are getting ready for the midnight mass at the birthplace of Jesus in Bethlehem.
Last-minute preparations are being made for the arrival of thousands of pilgrims in Bethlehem's Church of the Nativity to celebrate Christmas Eve. Hundreds of Palestinian security personnel have been positioned in and around the town ahead of the arrival of the Jerusalem Latin Patriarch. Security this year is especially problematic in light of the numerous terrorist attacks that have been carried out in Jerusalem and the West Bank. The Palestinians are concerned that terrorists will target Western visitors. But despite the tense situation, foreign tourists are excited to be in the Holy Land for the holiday.
Oh, it's pretty. The lights are amazing. The decorations are really cool. And it's just really cool. I like the restaurants. The food's good. And it's my first time here, so of course it's a new experience for me, and it's pretty cool out here, especially in the city. It's really cool. I like the church over there, the Nativity Church. It's pretty cool too.
I'm very, very excited. It's been a lifelong dream for me to come to Bethlehem for Christmas, and I think it's a very special time of the year, and I think it's just the most incredible opportunity to be here right now. Also, I think it's particularly important because it is a difficult time right now in this part of the world, and I think it makes it extra meaningful to be here. And I know a lot of other pilgrims have canceled their trips, but for us it made it even more important to be here, knowing that it means a lot to be here.
Israel has been coordinating security with the Palestinians and has tried to ease restrictions for the holiday. As part of the gestures, Israel granted special permission to 800 Christian residents of the Gaza Strip to leave the blockaded area and travel to the West Bank and Jerusalem for Christmas. Families gathered at the Erez border crossing this morning to travel to Bethlehem and to other West Bank towns to celebrate the holiday with their loved ones.
It's time for our Hebrew word of the day. The holiday season is coming to an end, and lots of us are finishing up our holiday shopping. This brings us to today's word, which is matana. It means present in Hebrew. We can all agree that it's just as fun to give gifts as it is to receive them. So it was no big surprise when I learned that the root of matana is natan, which means to give. A matana is therefore something that is given like a gift. The biblical version of the word is simply matan, but this formal version is reserved for special cases like the giving of the Torah, which the Jewish people consider to be a gift. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. The weekend is finally here. Tomorrow is expected to be sunny with a high of 67 degrees. Saturday should stay around the same temperature with a mix of sunshine and clouds. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.88 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at ILTV.tv. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.